Raya, one of the newest members of the Sesame family. Yes. Also, Stephen Zamani, who's Vice President of Sesame Workshop International, and Representative Aaron Schock, a Republican from Illinois who has co-sponsored Senator Paul Simon's Water for the World Act of 2013. So nice to have you all here.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Well, so Raya, I am very excited to have you here, in part because I know a lot of kids watch the show, in particular my own daughters. As a 6-year-old, what would you tell my daughters about how to stay safe and clean?
Well, I think the most important thing is to make sure that you have clean water access, whether it's using a clean latrine or toilet and being able to wash your hands in clean water and making sure you do so for 30 seconds. As you said before, Melissa, it really just all comes down to clean water. That's the fundamental part.
30 seconds? How long is that exactly?
Well, it's usually the length of a song. Sometimes kids sing the alphabet song, but I sing, wash my hands with soap and water while I sing this song. Wash my hands with soap and water, and the germs will soon be gone. Don't forget to scrub my fingers and scrub them in between. Rinse until the song is over, and now my hands are clean.
Oh, yay! Thank you, Ryan. That was a fabulous song. So, Congressman, while we are singing our song and washing our hands and doing what we have to do, tell me about the legislation that you are co-sponsoring and how it can help to meet the very goals Ryan just talked about.
Well, it sets out clearly defined goals, reauthorizes funding that our country provides to not only developing countries, but villages not only in Africa, but as you rightly pointed, in India, that have basic lack of necessity to clean water. It's surprising to most people that folks that live in these rural villages have access to cell phones, but not toilets. More people have access to a cell phone than a toilet. And as important as the porcelain is, what's equally important is the movement. What's equally important is changing the mindset about the importance of sanitation. It's why Raya is important. It's why the Global Poverty Project, which is hosting the summit today in Times Square, is important, or Central Park, is because we have to change the mindset of people around the world. In India, where I was earlier this year with Global Poverty Project, the Prime Minister says, look, it's more than just the porcelain. I need help convincing the people of my country that it's not okay for open defecation. It's not cleaner to go out in the fields as generations of generations have done. And we take for granted as Americans that practice that you went through, I'm sure, with your daughters of potty training, of telling them what's right and wrong and what's acceptable practice. And that's what GPP and this festival is about, not just raising the resources, getting the financial commitments, but creating the movement, the global movement, to change the mindset and behavior.
Well, one is only 7.5 months old, so I'm realizing we still have to do potty training. Maybe Raya will give me a little bit of help on that. But let me ask in part, because here we have a 6-year-old and we have a congressman, both thinking about the importance of...
Are you comparing the two?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, you to work together and sing songs and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I wonder...
I'm going to vote someday.
Yeah, yes, good. Vote early and often, as we say in Illinois. I'm so sorry. I am distracted by the Muppet. But I am wondering in part about what the congressman was saying here about the idea of caring and of changing the conversation. Part of what Sesame has been great about for generations is getting us to care about something beyond our own front stoop. And I'm wondering about, in part, how 6-year-old Raya here and Sesame help us to care about a world beyond our own.
Yeah. It's, Sesame is no stranger to engaging in global health issues. I mean, you might recall in 2002 we introduced the first HIV-positive puppet in South Africa to talk to South African children about to destigmatize the epidemic for those children who are going to be going to school. Same thing in our own beloved Cookie Monster here in the States. You might have noticed he's lost a little bit of weight. He's eating healthier. Cookies are now sometimes food.
It appalls my husband. Can I just say that my husband has a lot of anxiety about the vegetable-eating Cookie Monster.
Well, you have to eat your colors before you get to the cookie. And with water, sanitation, and hygiene, the congressman nailed it on the head. It's not just a hardware question. It's not a matter of just building the toilets or ensuring water is there. It's a software question as well. It's how do you encourage the right behaviors? How do you improve the knowledge? How do you improve the attitude so that when the hardware is there, when the toilets are built, when the water mains are put in, or the water becomes available, people know how to use them. Most importantly, know what to do related to their behaviors, which Raya is exceptionally good at doing.
And in fact, Raya, we've talked about your hands and how you wash your hands and in between, but I noticed noticed you also always wear your sandals everywhere you go. Why is that important?
Yes, I do. It's very important. You have to keep your feet clean when you're using the toilet so you don't get germs on them. Do you know about germs?
A little bit.
They're little bugs that can make you sick. And so it's important to keep your feet clean because germs are everywhere and you got to protect against them. And that's what my sandals do. Here they are, see?
Oh, man, that is a good-looking foot, girlfriend.
Yeah.
So I also, you know, part of what's nice about having a 6-year-old here and to talk about working together is, in fact, this very idea of whether or not we can get bipartisan efforts and global efforts together on these kinds of questions, right? Yes. This is not a partisan question. This is a global effort. So how do you go about building those kinds of coalitions? Yeah.
Well, first you have to make the case for why an elected official in the United States should care about this issue. Obviously, some people believe in the power of America's force around the world for good and our just social responsibility of helping lift people out of poverty. Other people, it's a matter of national security. We know that people who have hope and opportunity in their villages don't seek to destroy their neighborhoods, don't seek to go to war. So there's a national security component. There's also an economic component. We're only 5% of the world's population. To the degree other countries are developing and growing and reaching the middle class and beyond, are to the degree they buy our wheat and our corn and our manufactured products. So it's good for America's economy to have a developing world. So whether it's altruistic social responsibility, the right thing to do, whether it's national security, we have to go after members of Congress from the far left to the far right and people in between to say, look, this makes sense for America on so many levels, and it's why the Water for the World Act has gotten strong bipartisan support. It's why earlier this year the Electrify Africa, which was about reaching rural villages in Africa with electricity, passed the House. The Senate was signed into law by the President. So there is a will in Congress to do something with the Water for the World Act, and hopefully with Global Poverty Project's help, we're going to get it done this year.
I also want to ask about then the role of ordinary citizens. So we have elected officials, but so what do ordinary citizens, as they're kind of looking at the world and they learn there's something they didn't know about water and about sanitation being part of the story of global malnutrition? What do they do?
Well, I think they need to learn more about the issues and find ways to engage. This is an individual effort, but it's also a global effort. I mean, there are behaviors that people can impart to their children, to themselves, and children can impart to their friends that they can get engaged in to improve upon some of these conditions in the developing worlds. But I think also to what the Congressman said is talk to our governments. You know, see if we might be able to improve resources, awareness. That's why the Water for the World Act is such an impressive effort to revisit, because it's something that could really change the lives of billions of people around the world.
Stick with us, because we're going to talk more about this, but I also want to talk about how the hottest ticket in town, the one that has Jay-Z, Alicia Keys, and so many more preparing to take the stage in Central Park. We're going to go behind the scenes of the Global Citizens Festival when we come back. Raya is only 6, but she gets to go and stay up until 10 o'clock, I heard. Chris Hayes and Alex Wagner are going to join us next.